Bethany Manctalo here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Welcome to the 2024-25 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talkins, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Phil Coleman, Jeff Burnige and Steve Warren.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
It's with great sadness that we heard the only man to have guided Millwall to the top flight, the Doc, had passed away on Tuesday night. The former Millwall manager, John Docherty, who took the club to the top flight in the 87-88 season, died at the age of 84 following a 2-year battle with cancer. The Doc took over at Millwall in May 1986, replacing George Graham, who departed to join Arsenal. He returned for a brief caretaker spell in the 96-97 season. Well, hello everyone. Jeff, Phil, Steve, how are we all?
Good evening. Yes, it's a sad day.
Good evening.
Jeff, you was a member of the Millwall board when John joined and when he departed. What memories do you hold of this great man?
Very, very many and fantastic memories. I'd like to tell people what situation John walked into. The board had just changed. Alan Thorne had retired, and myself and Reg Burr and Brian Mitchell took over. There was very little money to spare in the club. We hired John, who was assistant manager at Brentford. It wasn't welcomed greatly by the fans, who didn't think it was a particularly impressive appointment. But when he arrived, we had just sold, the outgoing chairman had just sold John Fashanu, Neil Ruddock and Anton Oczykowski. So we had a very threadbare squad, and he had to operate with youth team players or former youth team players. Who would have guessed then that within 2 years we'd be in the first division? Unbelievable. During that first season, we were pleased with his work, and he operated very much in tandem with the legendary Bob Pearson, who did basically all the recruitment, and Doc was a brilliant, inspirational manager. And in that first season, the board managed to find the money, principally through Reg and a new arrival, Peter Mead, and he was able to bring in Jimmy Carter around Christmas time, and then Terry Hurlock for a massive fee to us. We had no money, and we paid $95,000 for Terry. And although we finished 16th, we were not really in danger at any stage. Then came that wonderful summer in 1987 when we were able to go out and buy Tony Cascarino, Steve Wood, Kevin O'Callaghan and Jules Lawrence. That season was one of the most memorable seasons of my life, that 87-8 season, when we ended up not just getting promoted to the first division after 103 years of trying, but winning the division by 4 clear points. Quite incredible performance. Brilliantly run by Doc. Can't speak too highly. But he didn't stop there. We went into the top division, and we were the last team in the country to be unbeaten. I think we went the first 12 or 13 games without losing a game. Ended up top of the first division. Anyone that was there that day, we beat QPR and found out we were top of the first division. It defied belief. We did well that season. We were in contention for the league with Arsenal and Liverpool to quite a late stage, and then we went and lost, I think our last 4 games, ended up 10th. The second season, people remember, wasn't so good, but even in that season we were top of the league at one stage, but we never won a game from December onwards, and sadly we went down, and Doc left the club in, I think it was the February or March of 1990. Very, very happy memories. My own personal favourite, people remember him going with the championship trophy up the Old Kent Road, sitting through the sunshine roof. People might remember that. I was driving my car. That was me driving that, past the Royal Archer, up the Old Kent Road, turned right down Page's Walk and past the Victoria, all round the area, and it was a great, great memory. I shall miss the man very, very much, and rest in peace, John Docherty.
Phil, you played for Millwall under the Doc, and you've publicly stated, Doc, thanks for the opportunity to play under you alongside top players and staff, alongside my brother, and to be part of the club's history. That's what you said yesterday. How would you sum up your experience with this great man?
I just owe the Doc 3 fantastic years. Obviously financially, but in terms of what Jeff has just said, the club sold me in 81 and I went to Colchester. I played for Exeter, Wrexham and Aldershot. And in that summer of 86, I was without a club. And I went into the club and I did a bit of training to keep fit during that summer. And my name went on a team sheet for a reserve game at Southampton. And I was playing beside the likes of Dave Thompson and Alan Dowson and all these young, talented kids. And the week after, I clearly had a good game. Doc called me into his office and said, I'd like to offer you a new 2-year contract. By the time he said contract, I think I'd signed it. But he also said, and in doing so, I suppose I better give your brother a pay rise because I can't have him earning less than you. So my brother got a pay rise to bring him up to what I was being paid as well. But from that minute on, I'm back at Millwall. I've got 2 years. I look around the change rooms and he brings in Dave Memmott and later on he brought in Dean Horrocks and Callie. So, we've returned for our second spell. And as Jeff mentioned again, the top players came in and it was just, for the first season, it was like a warm-up for the second season, 86, 87. I played a few games and then the following season, everybody knows what happened. Great times on and off the pitch. The Doc was firm but fair. He was a big character and I think I use the word infectious. He had a way of getting it out of you and he just looked and he gave you a few comments and you just wanted to perform for the bloke. So I owe him those 2 years in the old Division 2 and obviously to be playing next to me brother in the second tier of football. Not many people get to do that. And then part of a squad that won promotion. I was never going to get in the team in that second season. It picked itself, but it was priceless being around the training ground, being on the pitch, being around those players and training. And what people probably don't realise is, after those 2 years, the Doc sorted me out a deal to go and play in Finland for a season. Was it the right thing to do? I'm not so sure, but looking back now, it was absolutely brilliant. The Doc had a friend over there called Billy Hodgson, who's a close friend, and he said, Billy, trust me, Billy will look after you. So I went off to Finland and I had a fantastic season over there. I learned so much about different styles of play. So, yeah, because of the Doc, I had a second spell at the club that I love. Played beside my brother, played beside Cass Hurlers, Teddy, Brian Horne, and we made history together. And I was a very, very small part of that 1988, but I cherish it and I cherish what the Doc done for me as well.
Steve, as a fan, it must have been beyond your dreams that we play in the top flight. What stands out for you about John Docherty?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just put those times in context. I know Jeff went back a little bit, but only a few years before that, we were looking at dropping into the 4th division. And George Graham had turned that round. And as from the fans' point of view, he then got us moving. We think we're going somewhere, and all of a sudden Arsenal throw in for him, and he goes naturally because he would have done. And then we get John, and he wasn't that well known, if you like, but what a manager he turned out to be for us. And that's without doubt. He got a side. He brought some good players in. And you mentioned Terry Hurlock and others, and Jimmy. And as that squad developed and grew, with the players that were already there, people like Teddy, the whole thing just seemed to have a momentum about it. And as someone who stood there and watched all these games, went away, you just really felt that it was going to happen. And then we went up to Hull, and that was just fabulous. I must have been smiling after that till the start of the next season. It was just superb. And as a fan, it was everything you wanted, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, we're playing in the 1st division against all these big clubs, and oh my God, we're top of the league. And all of a sudden, from a bloke who's never had bragging rights for all those years, all of a sudden, I can shout, well, we're top of the league. And you could see that the team were playing for him, and everything was just working. And yeah, all right, we said, we didn't have a great second season. But so what? We were still there. And, maybe if we hadn't have lost a couple of players, and also maybe if we hadn't have lost Doc as well, maybe a few more might have stayed on, and maybe we would have gone back up, but it wasn't to be. But what a great man, and, I can only thank him for what he did, because for those short years, it was just brilliant as a fan. You just couldn't beat it.
Well, we did hope to have Teddy Sheringham coming on to join us this evening, which would have been a fitting tribute. But he had another commitment in Peterborough tonight, so he couldn't join us. He looks forward to returning to the Den with all the fans on Saturday to remember the Doc. Brian Horne spoke with Eamonn and Barkley about the Doc's passing and what players who played under the Doc will be doing at the game on Saturday, and here's what he had to say.
It was very sad news when we heard about the passing of John Docherty, the Doc to many, who was the only manager ever to take the Millwall team, its fans, its players, to the top flight. Nobody else has done it since. I have Brian Horne, who was the goalkeeper in that team, with me tonight. Brian was a long-standing friend of the man he called Boss at one stage in his life. Brian, I understand that many of the team and yourself will be at the Den on Saturday. Can you tell us who we might see and what might be going on?
Yeah, first of all, it's a very sad day and a lot of heavy hearts from, I'm sure, fans and us ex-players that were lucky enough to have him as our manager. I can tell you that I spoke to his family and he passed with no pain. He had cancer for a few years and he met up with Terry Hurlock at Brentford Football Club Hall of Fame, where him and Terry Hurlock was put into it a couple of weeks ago. And Terry rang me and said, look, he said, Brian, he said, please get Doc up to a game. He says he's looking a bit frail. So we decided the Coventry game. And sadly, on Saturday, I got a phone call from his family saying that he had gone into hospital and it wasn't looking too promising, but they were hoping for the best. And then a few other communications. I got a phone call he had passed away. So very sad times for everybody. The good thing, if anything comes out of it, all the players were going to come on Saturday to see John Docherty anyway. I would say the majority of the team will be there. The likes of Teddy, Cass, Stevie Wood, Alan McCleary, Danny Salmon, Terry Hurlock, Les Briley, Chicken George Lawrence, myself, David Thompson, Sean Spyram, Steve Antrobus. The list goes on. Frank McClintock will also be there, along with our ex-physio, Peter Melville. There'll be a very good turnout. Probably about 20 of us will be there. We've already spoke to Rhino in Australia and he, sent his condolences to the family. And so Rhino sadly won't be with us. Kevin O'Callaghan won't be with us either. But they'll be obviously in our thoughts when we're at the ground on Saturday.
Well, that's fantastic that such a group of people are going to be there that were with him at his time at the Den. Brian, can you tell me what you and your teammates are going to do on Saturday? Yeah,
firstly, before I get into that, I just wanted to say a big thank you to Millwall Football Club. They have been unbelievably supportive in the last, I would say, week or so leading up to this Coventry game. Mark Fairbrother, all the staff, the chairman, the board, as a group of players that played for Doc, can't thank them enough for what they've done. And on Saturday, we are going to walk around the ground, the 20 of us or so that are there. We're going to go round to the Docker stand and look at the Barry Kitchener stand, where I believe we're going to have a minute applause for Doc, and then the players and everybody will walk round to the ground. And that is basically what's going to happen before kick-off. You know, we would like the Doc to get the send-off that we all think he deserves. You know, as we said, he's the most successful manager in the club's history. He put a bunch of players that no one knew together and made them into a formidable team. As you say, he's the only team in Millwall's history to get to the top flight and play against the Arsenals, Liverpools and Man United at that time. For the players, it was special. For the supporters, we went on a journey that everybody loved, and we would like the crowd to celebrate what he'd done for for us and the club in 1988.
I think that's absolutely what will happen, and I hope the fans clap with vigour in his memory.
The thing I'll say is just on this, we know the fans getting late, but
Yes.
can they make an effort to get in to give the applause that he deserves?
Yes, before the kick-off. Brian, is there one undying memory that you hold personally about John Docherty?
Well, we've all spoke today, all the boys and different bits and pieces. We've come up with a couple of things that, you say what makes him special. I think that Doc loved us and we loved him. Whether he sold players or, whatever, I don't think I've never heard a bad word about John Docherty. He treated us like men. He gave us a taste of what we could be, and we took it with both hands. He was a brilliant person to play under. As I say, he's just respected. You can see by the amount of people, players, ex-players that are turning up on Saturday, how much we thought of him and how much we respected him. So I think that will show on Saturday through the crowd and through the players. It was funny. He never fined us. We weren't all perfect for sure, and sometimes we were late, but Doc used to fine us in Hamlet. He used to smoke an Hamlet on the bench, so we knew that if it was 5 Hamlet, we were okay. If it got to 10 Hamlet, we knew we was in trouble. So they're the funny things and some of the things that you remember. But most of all, I think from a manager, he trusted us as a team, and we trusted him.
Our condolences go out to you and your teammates, and more so to his family and his close friends. May he rest in peace. John Docherty. What a man, what a memory. Brian, thank you.
Pleasure, Eamonn. Take care.
Thank you to Eamonn Barkley and Brian Horne for that little special edition of an interview with Brian. So make sure you're inside the ground in your seats early to give Doc the send-off that he deserves. Thank you one and all. It was a sad day for Millwall, the club, the fans and the other clubs he managed and played for. Most of all, it was a tragic day for his family and those close to him. Let us celebrate his life with vigour as we applaud in his memory before kick-off at the Den. Rest in peace, John Docherty. Jeff, what did you make of the audible number of Millwall fans booing Neil Harris after he went over to applaud the travelling fans at Oxford away?
Well, a couple of thoughts about that. Number one, our fans, the ones that did any booing, they want to be be careful what they wish for, because we're 9 games unbeaten. Neil Harris is a proper Millwall man. He loves the club. His tribute to John Docherty on the Millwall website today proves that over and over again to me. It is true that if the sound of booing does carry, and although it seems to be a big percentage of people, in my opinion, it's not. But I think Millwall fans should support their team and their management a lot better than booing after a 9-game unbeaten run. So they want to be careful what they wish for. What happened when Neil left last time was after a 1-1 draw away from home, and he got a few boos. So be careful, everyone.
I agree, Jeff. Steve, another game of 2 halves. Even Neil Harris said we had been Millwalled. What are your thoughts?
Well, the stats show that we had pretty much even possession. We had 11 corners to their 2. We had 28 crosses to their 10. But we just didn't get the ball in the net. And I think rather than look at it as a game of 2 halves, we scored. We got in front. We held on. And we got hit by a sucker punch at the end. It was a good goal. It was outside the 18-yard box. He, got away from his man and he hit it in. But I think really it's they're a good side at home, Oxford. People say, you should beat all these teams, but the league is a funny league this year. And they did well. Right, they haven't done well the last couple of games, but I think their home stats are something like 1-4, drawn 4, lost 2. So that ain't bad. It wasn't great for us, but we come away with a draw. We're still unbeaten, and who knows? We may still be unbeaten on Saturday with a bit of luck.
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully, Phil. With your coaching background and of course having been a player, what can you share with supporters about the effort and preparation in selecting a team?
When you've got a big squad and every single player's quality and they're all fit and they're all playing and they're winning, picking the team is easy. The team picks itself. But the picking of a team starts immediately after the last game. You're looking who's injured, who's suspended, who's tired, who's had a poor game, who needs minutes in the under-21s or even go out on loan to get themselves match fit and match sharp. Then you're watching every single player in training. In training, you can see who's tired. You can see who's sharp. You can see who's confident. And then picking that team, you need strengths in defensive partnerships. You need partnerships in midfield. Are you playing a lone striker? Are you playing two strikers? You need another partnership up there. Plus, you've also got to keep an eye on the opposition and their players. What are Coventry playing this weekend in terms of shape, formation? What's Coventry's strengths? They've got a top striker. So it's not easy, but it starts after the last game, and you're constantly looking, is he fit? Is he not fit? Is he up for this? Is he not? I'd also say that certain Millwall managers in the past, they've been very good at keeping players fresh. It's a 50 game with cup game season, 50 games. You rotate players in key roles. You can't have our striker running 14 kilometres per game and expect him to do it for about 35, 40 games. So you can burn them out. That causes injuries. So managers have got to play the long game as well. You might play 4, you rest him for 2, and in comes the striker. It's a long, tough season, and it all adds up. But at the moment, I look at Neil Harris, and he played Longstaff, and he's dropped him out. He played Watmore, and he's dropped him out for Aziz. So fair play to Neil. He's rotating, he's looking, and he's keeping the boys fresh. The way he plays is extremely demanding on anybody not in the back four. You're constantly closing down, chasing passes across. If the opposition are getting 60% possession, you're working so hard. So you need to keep those players fresh. But picking a team for some supporters is easy. Behind the scenes, it's incredibly difficult.
We're going to take a quick break there and hear from Jess Tuffield and Debbie Julians, who talks about G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned marque. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julians here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 81 3562. G&M Motors have been dear friends with the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie, Lions together.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the Noel Knights' talking team of Phil Coleman, Jeff Burnige and Steve Warren. Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors. Why not go along, check the Hondas out and see what else they have on site at Gravesend. Our first guest was born in England and enjoyed an impressive career with the Republic of Ireland national team, although there were always questions about his eligibility. In 2000, after much confusion, the Football Association of Ireland released a statement confirming that they were satisfied to declare that he was always eligible to play for Ireland. He would wear the green for Ireland in 3 major tournaments: Euro 1988, the 1990 World Cup and the 1994 World Cup before he retired in 1999, having won 88 international caps and scored 19 goals. He was inducted into the FAI Hall of Fame in 2015, and he joined Millwall from Gillingham in 1987 under the late great John Docherty. Millwall was the club he supported from a boy. He made 128 appearances and scored 49 goals with us. On leaving, he went to play for Aston Villa, Celtic, Chelsea, Marseille, Nantes and Red Star Belgrade. He is an acclaimed author, reality TV star and pundit, who Jack Charlton fondly nicknamed the Ice Cream Man. You know it is the one and only Tony Cascarino. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hello, Tony.
What a journey, Tony. The Ice Cream Man tag sticks out today, out in Ireland, where your name is mentioned. Did other players and Morris setters also call you that? And I'm sure you weren't the only one who had a nickname from Jack.
First of all, Jack was the only one who called me Ice Cream Man. Nobody else did. Jack tended to get a lot of names wrong anyway. So, the funniest one, well, it's not that particularly nice, but was Liam Brady. He called Ian Brady. And Ian Brady, as we know, was the mass Moors murderer. He called him Ian all the time we were around. But he had names for most people, really. I think Jack was in his own world so often that he didn't. So if he said a name wrong and you corrected him, Jack said, "Oh, does it matter? You know what I'm talking about." That was Jack.
Good evening, Cass. Jeff Burnige here, mate. Great to talk to you. Always is. I have some great memories of the Doc, and I'm sure you will have as well. He'll be missed by players and fans alike. I read your superb tribute piece to him in the Times, which appeared, I think, on Wednesday morning, was it? Yes. What are your recollections, Cass?
Well, my recollections of Doc is sitting in the office with him on my first time of meeting him and him offering me a drink. And so I said, I'll have an orange juice. And he said, no, a proper drink. And then said, what do you want? And I thought, well, is he testing me? So I just said, okay, I'll have a vodka and tonic. He got one out. And his next line was, you got to be fit to drink. And what he meant by that was, if you're going to drink, you're going to train really hard. And he did. He really pushed me hard in training. I remember pre-season, the year I joined, and every time we had to do extra work, it was me, Horney, and Terry Erlock. Well, because we all put on weight a little bit too easy. And I can remember being in Dartford and doing a lot more extra running. Just he wanted to push me. I always felt he knew that I needed to be my backside kicks a bit too often, and so he never wanted you just to sort of rest on your laurels, the Doc. I mean, I had a great relationship with him. He was brilliant to me. I did a piece in the Times and talked about how much he was loved by the players, and I think in some ways it worked against us because the second season, obviously after the first year we had a really good year. The second season we slightly come off it as a group. And I think John's loyalty to the team and stayed with it probably cost him dearly, where he probably had to make some tough decisions. But he was so loyal, and that's what he was like. I always remember the smoke coming out of the dugout and looking across, and and he'd have a big smile on, and it was normally Frank McClintock who would do all the kicking of the backsides, and Doc. Frank was quite feisty. And if he thought you weren't at it, he'd have a right go at you at half time. He was his sort of sidekick. But the Doc was far more, I think he stepped back a bit from the players. But we all knew that he felt the world of all the team and even the bigger squad. He wasn't a manager that would go, if you fell out with the Doc, he wasn't a manager that would go, do you know what? You go with the reserves. You go and stand up. You get out of my training session. He didn't do that. I never remember him do that. With so many managers that I've played under, if they fell out with you, they take it personally, and then they sometimes want to, put the players with the younger group or the guys in the reserves. He didn't do that. He didn't do them sort of things. He treated you like a man.
Brilliant.
Hello, Cash, mate. It's Phil Coleman here. I'll see you on Saturday, although not good circumstances. It will bring back so many memories, though, when we're all back together. Can you tell the fans that are listening in, Tony, what was training like under the Doc and Frank McClintock? And do you have any other standout memories of the staff, the physios, during that time at the club?
Yeah, of course you do. You meet secretaries, you meet physios, tea lady, Lil, she used to swear a bit if we weren't at it. We got more stick off the tea lady than we did off some of the staff there. Because if you weren't doing it, she weren't too happy and let you know in no uncertain terms. Training was always tough, as I mentioned before. Tough training. I needed it, and so did many others doing it. It was one of them periods when you just get it all clicked. Because Millwall had a real overhaul the year I joined. It must have been about 8 or 9 that came in. And we all clicked pretty quickly. We all got on with each other, and they were a good group. I still look at my Millwall days, and I've had this chat with Teddy, and I've had it with Stevie Wood and others about that camaraderie in the dressing room where we all got on. And we would sometimes have a go at each other, but we generally thought the world of each other. And that was the real drive of us getting promoted for the first time. That was a very proud moment. And there were some great matches along the way. I can remember Stoke away winning there, Leeds away winning there. Obviously the one that we won at Hull with, Callie getting the goal and having Millwall supporters in the dressing room as we're getting changed. We don't even know who they are, but they're just sitting there. And had one particular guy crying his eyes out because, like everybody else at Millwall, had never witnessed us getting to the top flight for the very first time.
What memories?
Hello, Tony. Steve here. It's great to have you on the show. You were one of my favourites back in the day, and speaking to you now is a delight. Did the Doc know of your success as a Gaelic football team manager on the reality Irish TV programme a while back? How did it go with your former teammates, your fellow journalists and pundits? Or was it just accepted as a good job, well done?
Well, Steve obviously has been stalking me, I think. I've had to call him Stalker Steve. No, he wouldn't have known that. And I don't think many people in England did. But I got invited to Ireland to do, it was called Banastor, which is Irish for coach. And there was like 8 teams in it, and I had my team, which was Collection. And I went out to Ireland. I did a lot of filming for about 6 weeks, and I loved it. But it was absolutely bonkers because they all do it for free. Everybody participates around the club. There was so many, the food from everybody, no one was paid. And that was the really weird thing that our football is where everything's about money and what you can generate and what you can put together. And yet Gaelic, as Gar is what they'd say in Ireland, is just complete reverse, that everybody has to contribute and no one gets any wages. They get, obviously, expenses and things like that. But and there was also the side of, they get job offers through being a Gaelic footballer. But it was a pleasure to be around. And yes, I won it and I loved every minute of it from start to finish. But when it was ended, I really was like, thank heavens for that. Thank God for that. I'm done. Because I realised how tough coaching was. And, I never got the opportunity to coach. And I didn't know if it was really for me because it's so time absorbing. You just get caught up. And also your relationship with the players. I found that even in the time of doing that collection, the team collection, and being around the lads and having to make calls. And by the way, the committee above who run the club, they were telling me to drop players, and it was a TV series. So I'm arguing with them, saying I'm not dropping them. The ones that have done well for me and have been loyal, I'm not dropping. And they were not happy because they were playing games still in their season, but the actual show still was games, extra games to play. But I found it really weird that I was having really high, intense meetings with them on a Friday night before we played the game the next day, and I'm arguing to keep players in the team. And I said, and I nearly walked out at one time. I said, look, you don't, if you want to pick your own team, you do, but there's no point in me being here. This was all in like GA football. So, Steve, I loved it, but a lot of memories, some not so good, but I actually loved the whole experience.
Fantastic.
Cass, Teddy and yourself had a great partnership. I've heard you say it worked and that he had great attributes, which we all saw for ourselves. But really, I'd like to know, how did you go about forging a relationship with Teddy when it was quite unusual to have two tall strikers at the front. How did you go about creating that partnership?
Well, Jeff, it started the season before when Millwall come 16th, because my contract was coming to an end, and I went to a number of Millwall games, and obviously I'd seen Teddy play, and there was talk of me going to Millwall, but I was talking to Leeds and Ipswich at the same time, so I had a choice of sort of three teams that I could go to. But I went to a number of games and watched Teddy, and there was something different about him. And I'm not trying to be smart here and predict how good a player he became. I saw incredible vision as what he had. He was a good talker. His movement was incredible. He wasn't quick, but he'd get more one-on-ones than anybody I see. He got one-on-ones on a regular basis. And he just, and I probably learned this after my time with him as well, that he was a partnership player. Because if you looked at Teddy as an isolated forward, I think he was effective. But when he had a partner, he absolutely made the partnership work. And you only have to look at his career when you think of, I don't know, Dwight York, Andy Cole, Solskjaer at Man United. Then he had Klinsmann at Tottenham, Robbie Keane. He had me at Millwall. He had Shearer and Ferdinand at England. He was a total partnership player. And that was what made my job so much easier, because Ted was part of the reason why me thinking of a partnership with a player, because we didn't have one up front then, Jeff, as we did, because it was always two forwards. And that was his biggest strength.
Brilliant.
Cass, it's Phil again. I can't remember you being called the ice cream man. It's either slipped my mind or I've never heard of it. But nevertheless, you had a tremendous international career, mate, playing for the Republic of Ireland under Jack Charlton and his assistant, Maurice Setters. Could you compare them to the Doc and Frank, apart from having different accents?
Yeah, well, it's actually a good question, because, they were a partnership, but actually Jack controlled everything. I mean, if Maurice spoke out and said too much, Jack would say, "Oh, shut up, Maurice, what are you talking about?" We'd all laugh as players, where you'd never got that with Doc and Frank. They really did work in tandem. And like I said, Frank can be quite spicy when need to be, and the Doc can be a little bit more reflective. But they fought a lot of each other. Look, one of the great things about Millwall at that particular time was the way that Doc and Frank would, get players in the office after games, and when things are good, all have a sing-song. Frank was a great singer. The Doc loved the sing-song as well. And that stood out for me, that their relationship was very tight. Remember that they were at Brentford together. So, that they'd already forged that, and they had great respect for each other. And Frank was a quality person. He really was. And I think Doc loved that someone with such a big name who achieved so much with Arsenal as a player and was a really top player, Frank. But he also, he had great respect for someone like the Doc and many players at different levels, and I think that really worked for the pair of them, because they did work together brilliantly.
What was your finest moment with the Irish team?
Probably scoring against England would have been my finest moment, because that was a big time, and there was a sort of backstory to that, because when I left Millwall and I joined Aston Villa, Graham Taylor, I asked him if I signed for Villa, was he going to take the England job? Because it was the March time when there was the old transfer window. And when I said that to him, because he was rumoured to have the job in the summer, that he might take the job. And I asked him to his face, "Are you going to take the England job?" And he said, "No, I'm going to be the Villa manager." And of course, I got to the end of the season and he took the England job. And then I came on as a sub. And as I was going on, he looked at me and went, "Don't you dare," meaning don't score, "don't you dare." And I just looked at him and say, "Graham, you told me you weren't taking the England job." Like that sort of look, I didn't have to say much, but I just looked at him, and of course I scored. And I think that sat badly with him. That really did. I remember meeting Graham a few years after, and he really didn't take to me scoring against him. he took it with I don't know, it felt weird when the way he was to me at that particular time. But look, that would be my greatest goal, without doubt, the goal against England, because of the importance of playing England as well.
Tony, Steve again. We've had 2 Northern Ireland internationals, Anton Rogan and Ciara Watlin, on the show over the past couple of weeks. So it's nice to have a former player from the Republic of Ireland. Can you explain to the listeners and me about receiving toffees from the Doc, and whether Jack Charlton did anything similar?
Well, Doc loved to have sweets in his pocket, hard sweets, so he had a number of different types of sweets. He loved to have them in his pocket. So in training sometimes when we were playing, and he didn't just do it to me, he'd done it to a number of other players as well. If they scored a great goal, they'd run and he'd go, come here, and he'd get out a sweet out of his pocket and give it to the player. And he did that regularly. No, Jack didn't give anything away. Jack was the tightest man in the world. He kept everything. I mean, we used to laugh because international duty, he always used to say, I'm getting some prezzies, and it'll be like a tie and it'll be a jacket or some sort. He'd wear it on international duty. So he sort of come with a bag half full and go home with a full bag, Jack, with prezzies. So no, Jack didn't give a thing away. Never did. He'd nick everybody's cigarettes, by the way, as well, and he wouldn't buy a pint. We had that a number of times when we were on a bus in Dublin and we, in between games, and he'd say, you can have a pint, but you can only have a pint as long as under one reason that, I don't have to buy a drink, and then we'd stop. So he didn't have to buy a drink. That's Jack.
Tony, one final question. What is the memory that you hold of John Docherty above all others?
Probably when I saw him years after I played, because I had some good times with the Doc, but probably the year, a few years after I'd finished, and we all met up, and I was sitting next to Doc, and he said to me, do you know, he said, you wanted a sign for Millwall more than I wanted you. And I looked at him and laughed, and he said, that's really rare in football that you wanted to come to Millwall so much. And I said, I don't know if I take that as a compliment, Doc, or a bit of a negative thing. You didn't want me so much. Oh, he said, I wanted you. He said, but you really wanted to come. And he said, I was glad you come as well, because we'd done a lot together. And that conversation, it was actually in Deptford in a hotel, and I just thought it was, he was there with his missus, and it was that was a really warm feeling. I got on, and the Doc had time for a lot of players at Millwall at that time. So I would always take, I tell you what he never done as well. When you hear, the player's been fined 2 weeks' wages, or the player's been fined for this or that, he'd say he fined, he never took the fine. He never took it. I'm not, as far as I know, of any player I know. I know I got fined twice, and he never took the money. And I'm pretty sure he did that with everybody else, because Doc wouldn't have done it for one and not for somebody else. I remember a few times he said he's going to get fined, and then he didn't fine you. Well, he'd say he would, but he'd tell them the South London press he was getting fined or something like that, but he wouldn't fine you. It's one of my favourite memories of every player and the relationships with the people at the football club that you don't get very often. You really don't, because there's so much competition and people want what they, for their careers and going wherever they go. And we still today, all of that group, we all see each other and get on really, really well, which is really rare. Because I played for 8 clubs, and I'd say out of all of the clubs I played for, the best connection is Millwall. Within all the players that we still see and speak to each other, and sometimes it's not very often, but when we meet up, it's just like we were back in the dressing room, like we were 30 years ago.
That's lovely. Before you go, Tony, we have Ted's Prediction League. You know Ted, but he's not here tonight. He has selected 3 fixtures for the forthcoming weekend. Can I have your predictions for them?
Go on.
First up, it's Burnley versus Middlesbrough. Ted predicts 1-1. What do you think?
Oh, what a tough game. I think I'd go Borough win, but that's a really tough game because they're 2 good sides. And look, Middlesbrough are very dangerous. They got goals in that side, where Burnley tend to grind it out. But I'll go that even at Turf Moor, I think Borough are a really tough side. I think they'll be close to the top by the end of the season. Because of this Borough, I'd probably go 2-1, something like that, to Borough, yeah.
Next up, it's West Brom versus Sheffield United. Ted thinks it'll be 2-1 to Sheffield United. What about you, mate?
Yeah, I've got a bit of bias here. I know Chrissy Wilder really well. I've known Chris for a long time. He's done an amazing job because they had a load of ins and outs in the summer. He's rebuilt the team. They've been really good defensively. I think they're playing Millwall, aren't they? They got Millwall on site 11th, 12th of December, something like that. Yeah, in midweek. West Brom are just drawing every match. It's hard to not look at West Brom without them drawing. They just draw every game. I'll probably go 1-0 Sheffield United.
Last but not least, Millwall versus Coventry on Saturday. Ted thinks it'll be 2-1 Millwall. What about you?
Well, it's quite funny. I had a conversation with Chrissy Wilder and we were talking about Millwall and what will Millwall be like this year. And he said they're going to beat a lot of teams that are at the top of the table where, because they're such a tough team to play against, he said they're going to upset a lot of teams who are fighting for promotion this year, like Leeds found out, yeah?
Mm.
He said they're going to do that. It was quite interesting, that conversation with Chrissy Wilder, where he'd watch. Because I said to him, like, God, I'll definitely come along to the Millwall Sheffield game. And we started chatting about what Neil Harris has sort of, the team he's got. And they're going to be the team you don't want to play against very often because there's so much commitment and desire in the Millwall team. And I really admire that because they might not have the best team or the best players, but they really compete all the time. And it's really hard to see them getting battered by anybody because they just keep going, don't they? As you know.
Yeah.
Which is great for the fans. The fans love that commitment and desire. Not all fans do, but I do think in particular Millwall fans, they sort of demand that from their sides. And I think this team is a reflection with Neil and what they're capable of. Again, a very tight Millwall, don't concede too many. I'd probably go 1-0 to Millwall in a tough encounter. But Millwall are always in tough games. Every time I see them, I've gone, God, dude, that game's so tight. They're a team of tight games. I'd go just by the odd goal, 1-0.
Thanks very much, Tony. We're keeping our fingers crossed that one of our guests doesn't run away with it. I'm told Ted has a big prize up his sleeve, so watch out for that one. Having you on the show has been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to talking to you again in the not-too-distant future. All the best to you and yours, and with your continuing football work. Until we see you Saturday, when we will all remember the only manager to take us all to the top flight.
Yeah, well, it's an absolute pleasure to be there Saturday, and especially for the reasons that Doc and that you'll see a big turnout from the players because hugely respected from not only people around Millwall Football Club, but a proper football person. That's the Doc.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Cheerio, Cass. Thanks for coming on. Great to see you. Hope to see you at the game on Saturday.
Cheers, Cass. All the best, my friend. And Saturday. See you Saturday.
Cheers, Tony. It's been great speaking with you.
Cheers, Tony. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you.
We'll take a break there and hear about the Lions Food Hub from Harvey Brown.
Hi, Harvey Brown here. I am proud of the Lions Food Hub, which is jointly owned by Kelly and Ellen Webster, and they have been supporting families within our community for over 2 years on Millwall match days. If you would like to donate to them, they have a match day donation hub at the SE16 bar at Coleman Lane, end of the ground, where they accept any food or money and toiletry donations. If you can help, any donations will be received with thanks.
Still remember the day that me and Harvey recorded that. It was absolutely hilarious. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Phil Coleman, Jeff Burnige and Steve Warren. Congratulations to the Lions Food Hub team, who all received an All Saints New Cross Award for exemplary community service. Well done one and all. The hub will be open from 12:30 until 2:50 on Saturday. It's located opposite the Blue Bus Bar. Please bring food, cleaning supplies and sanitary goods if you can. Additionally, you can always contribute money or donate £30 towards a Christmas hamper for those who can't afford it. Now then, let's hear from Ellis Barr. Keep us updated, Ellis.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Thanks always, Ellis. Come on, Millwall indeed. The Millwall Community Trust reported the following results from the last weekend. The Mill Romans defeated London Freedom 3-1 on Sunday. Goals from AJ Davis, Ade Thompson and Nick Duffy gave the Romans all 3 points in an entertaining clash. Millwall Pride beat Soho Tigers 9-0 at St Paul's on the weekend. Hat-tricks from John Goodyear, who we'll hear from later on, and Iso Salinas, and goals apiece by Tom Ward, Andy Chan and Brads secured a comfortable win. The Millwall Lionesses match against Bognor Regis was postponed and will be played next Sunday at 2 p.m. at Nilewood Lane, Bognor Regis. Millwall Under-12s beat FITC 3-1, whilst Millwall Lionesses Under-14s didn't have a game. The Millwall Lionesses Under-16s beat Camden Town 2-0, and the Millwall Lionesses Under-18s drew 1-1 against Charlton. We now have reports from Paul Loading for the Millwall Romans and the hat-trick man, John Goodyear, for the Pride.
Hi, it's Paul Loading at the Millwall Romans with a quick update for the week. Couple of good results for both Romans and Pride over the weekend. I'll let John Goodyear discuss the victory that was Pride over last weekend. Romans were playing away against London Freedom. London Freedom joined the league, the Division 1 league last year after coming top of Division 2. Haven't played them so far this season, wasn't really sure what to expect. And they did set up incredibly well. Defensively, they were very strong. The two centre-backs had excellent game. And their goalkeeper was playing really well. So they set up a lot more defensively, and we were getting a little bit impatient to try and get round them. The first goal came from AJ Davis down the left-hand side attack and managed to slip it past the keeper within the first half. Coming up to about 10 to 15 minutes towards the half-time break, all the play was really around us. I say, just had that trouble trying to get through their defence, and it was frustrating us a bit, and we ended up shooting from a little bit too far out. However, a free kick given away by us in our own half. Cross came in. I think it was their midfielder at the back post, left unmarked, and hit a good goal in, to be fair, from about 20 yards out. Going into half time at 1-1, I think we took a lot of positives in. Going into the break, we were playing quite well. We were still knocking it around. It was just that final ball where we were struggling with. And I think the tactics going into second half, we're trying to get a little, try and get it a little bit wider, try and stretch their defence to make the spaces through. They did have quite a hefty striker up front who was quite good at holding it up, but didn't really have the support around him. So I think defensively we were pretty much covered. Goal came in from within about 10-15 minutes into the second half from Ade, our new signing from last season. An absolute unstoppable shot from about 30 yards out. Incredible. The keeper got a touch to it, but it just went through his hand with the power of the shot straight in the top corner, which then settled the play down. Chances continued, but we just again couldn't seem to get an open play, sort of set piece, open play goal, sorry. But we did manage to score another one with a bit of a fluke, I would say, from Nick Duffy playing at right back, darting down the right-hand side. A placed cross, we'll call it, which just flew over the goalkeeper's head. A rare mistake from him in the game, and went into the top corner at the far post there. Definitely didn't mean it. It was definitely a lucky goal. Duffy had about 3 or 4 chances that game, a couple being a couple of yards out, which he seemed to sky over. So it was definitely not meant by him. But overall, we ended up winning 3-1. Great result, and we still remain unbeaten. John Goodyear.
So Millwall Pride played our first home game of the season against Soho Tigers, the team we beat 5-2 in the Cup the week before. Unlike in that game where we struggled to make our dominance pay at times, this was a really excellent performance throughout the team. We did lots of great, simple, short passing moves, pulling them apart, and we ran away 9-0 winners. Both Yosu and myself scored hat-tricks, with additional goals from Tom Ward, Andy Chan and Brads, who also hit the post twice. And special mention has to go to winger Kim, who assisted 6 goals, including all 3 of mine. So I think I definitely owe him a share of the match ball. Unfortunately, due to an admin error, which is really too stupid to go into, the game was delayed and only lasted 60 minutes. And the opponents put in a complaint, despite the mistake being their fault, and that means the game will now have to be replayed. But I'm seeing it as, we've got an extra 30 minutes and a lot of motivation to put double figures past them next time round. Good news is at least the league's keeping the goals for the top goal scorer award, so Yosu is now leading the way in that table with 9 goals. So our next game for Friday is away at Barnstorms on the 15th of December, and we'll replay this game in the new year.
This week's predictions, so I'm going to say Burnley Middlesbrough. I'm going to say Burnley 1-0. I'm going to say Sheffield United West Brom. I'm going to say 2-0 to Sheffield United. And Millwall Coventry. Oh, God. Let's go 1-1 with that one.
Cool. Some good bit of thinking going on there about the predictions. Well, we're all giving it our best shot. No game for the Lionesses last Sunday due to the postponement. And as you heard that this rearranged League Cup tie will now take place this Sunday at Bognor Regis. Next up for the first team is the visit of Coventry City to the Den, with new boss Frank Lampard and former Lions head coach Joe Edwards in as the assistant manager. Since 2021, we have lost 5 games, drawn 1 and won 2. Last season, we lost home and away. The new Sky Blues boss Frank Lampard reverted to a 4-at-the-back system against the Bluebirds, with whom they drew, and hopes pushing the player further forward will lead to greater efficiency at the top end of the pitch. Lampard said, "I know what this league is like. It's not easy to get momentum." I'm sure Phil will agree with that. We'll have to fight for it. There's always going to be some challenges to move to a back four. You expect some things to not be quite right, and we saw that. But it's better for me to get there quickly and decide to try and do that. If we want to be more effective at the top end of the pitch, with pressing and our attacking play, playing with an extra attacking player is an integral part of that. He's wary of Millwall, but will push on with this plan. It'll be a nervy game for us. George Saville, Romain Esse, Ryan Leonard, and George Honeyman, in fact, all on 4 bookings this season. So one more for them before the Sheffield United game. Before the game after the Sheffield United game. So that includes the Sheffield United game. Will mean a 1-game suspension, and Casper Nori and Ryan Winter on 3, so 2 yellow cards for either of them. There'll be a suspension as well. Due to the Portsmouth game being postponed last week, the cut-off for 5 bookings is after we meet the Blades. Any player who reaches that number before then is suspended for 1 league game. Our back 4 will look different this week as Jeffington Ganga is booked after collecting his 5th yellow card at Oxford United, and Jake Cooper's injured for at least another 6 weeks. That was a mouthful. What do we reckon, team? Phil, we'll start with you. Can I get your prediction for Burnley versus Middlesbrough?
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2. And how about West Brom versus Sheffield United?
Yeah, I think in a very unpredictable league, West Brom 1, Sheffield United 3.
And how about Millwall versus Coventry?
As much as I fear a new manager bounce of a club, I'm going to go Millwall 3-0. To hell with it, go for it. I think we're at home. It's a big occasion. There'll be a lot of sentiment for the Dock there, and let's ram it down Coventry's throats.
Lovely. Jeff, what about you?
Burnley, Middlesbrough. I think Middlesbrough will win that 2-1.
Okay.
I think that striker they've got, Lottie Lash, whatever his name is, I think he's a deadly front player. That's why I've gone for that result.
Okay. And how about West Brom versus Sheffield United?
0-1. Another away win.
And how about Millwall versus Coventry, Jeff?
Well, everyone's worried about our back 4 and think we might possibly not be so strong there and therefore will concede. But I love the way Neil Harris thinks about these things. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. Whoever he puts in the back 4, they will have worked on that. And I'm going to go Millwall 2, Coventry 0.
Perfect. And Steve, how about you? Burnley versus Middlesbrough, please.
So I think Burnley are going to win that 3-2.
3-2. Okay, that's a bloody good game that as well. And what about West Brom versus Sheffield United?
I think Sheffield United are going to win that 4-1.
Add the extra goal. And how about Millwall versus Coventry?
I think we're going to win that 3-1. I think with the defence being a bit different this week, I think there's a good chance that we'll ship. But I think we're going to win 3-1.
Perfect. We also have predictions from Nick Whiff of the Millwall Facebook Sicily site. Let's hear what Nick predicts.
Hi guys, prediction to Nick Wythe for the weekend. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 0. West Brom 2, Sheffield United 2, and Millwall 1, Coventry 2. Hope I'm wrong about the last one. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Nick. And hopefully you are wrong about the last one. Thanks to Dave Hart as well, who collates the results, and I'll send them over to him right now. That is always fun, isn't it? The prediction league with the added handicap of not being able to make the exact prediction as each other. Phil Coleman's Tales from the Boot Room will return next week. Take a break there and hear from Ellie, who talks about Harvey's Den Cafe.
Hi Ellie, lovely to see you here up in Harvey's Den again. And of course you've taken over from the Brown family. Cafe that they have here is just wonderful. Millwall shirts on the chairs, blue and white tablecloths, blue chairs, and all you guys in Millwall kit.
Of course.
Tell me, what goes on? When are you here? What can we expect?
We're here Monday to Friday from 10:30 till 5 every day, open to the public. Everyone's welcome. We're open every match day from 11:30 till 2:30. We've got a new family, a new little CAF team, and the girls up here are all lovely and friendly.
So who are the girls that are up here?
We've got myself, Ellie, of course, and then we've got Nicole, who works during the week. We've got Michelle, who also works during the week. She's lovely. And Lena, who works on a match day. And my mum, Ellen, who's very well known.
Very well known.
She also helps out in here from time to time. So we've got a lovely little family team.
To look after the community. Exactly. Wonderful stuff. So what's on offer at the cafe these days?
We've got everything from chicken burgers to paninis to full breakfasts, tea, coffee, hot chocolate, soft drinks, snacks, everything you could need.
So it's all here, all available, a great team to serve it up to you. Well, what else can I say but carry on in Harvey's style here at Harvey's Den Cafe, and all the best to you, Ellie, and your team, and I look forward to coming up and enjoying some of the fare in not the far distant future. Well, in fact, I've already done that. The coffee is just superb. Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks, Eamon.
Thanks for that, Eamon, and thanks for that, Ellie. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me are the No One Likes Us Talking team of Phil Coleman, Jeff Burnige and Steve Warren. Open Monday to Friday on match days and on match days. Enjoy the great food at Harvey's Den Cafe on the first floor of the Millwall Community Trust Lions Centre on Ballina Road. Our second guest is and has been a regular on the show. He supported the work of our shows through sponsorship since the days of Lions Live, for which we are truly grateful. Let's say hello to former firefighter, funeral director and goalkeeping coach at Millwall, Dean Wilson.
Good evening.
Evening, Dean.
Hey, are you, Jeff? You okay?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Very sad week, obviously, but we're looking forward to paying tribute to our doc at the game.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah. We need to pay tribute to the man.
Hi, Dean. Phil Coleman here.
Hi, Phil.
How you doing? All right?
Oh, not too bad, mate. Not bad at all.
Good.
Hi, Dean. It's Steve Warren here.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
All well. Hope you're well.
Good.
Dean, firstly, we'll talk about what Jeff mentioned, the late John Docherty. Do you have any thoughts you might want to share about him?
Yeah, I mean, from what I can remember of the doc, albeit he was our most successful manager, but I think he went under the radar, really. He just got on with his job at Millwall. I think he got the players playing for him and playing for the Millwall way at the time. He was happy to take on a team of underdogs, and I think he done wonders with them. I think, from what I can remember, he loved being at Millwall. He loved the club, and the fans loved him. And, of course, he'll always be remembered as the manager that took us into the First Division. So, yeah, rest in peace, John.
Okay, Dean, it's Steve here.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. You've been a great sponsor of many things around our club, including the pitch advertising, our work, the Lions Food Hub. Was it the influence of Brian King when you were a boy, as he brought you over the wall onto the pitch, that made you benevolent in these ways?
Oh, yeah. That's always a great memory, actually. What happened was, when I was 7, Kingy lifted me over the wall during the warm-up at the old den, at the old Ilderton Road dog track end. And I took shots against him from the penalty spot, and all the crowd were cheering. As I say, I was only 7. And I'll never forget that. And it's really strange now that years later, Kingy and I have become great friends, and I speak to him on an almost daily basis now. As far as me being involved with the club, as you said, I've done various things, and we're involved with the food hub, and that's going well. Kelly and her team are working hard to get the donations in for Christmas. So if I can just say, if there's any Lions fans out there that can donate anything, food, toiletries, it'll be greatly appreciated by local families.
Brilliant.
Dean, it's Jeff here. Got a question for you.
So,
I
Jeff,
look forward to seeing you at the Coventry game.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you there, mate.
I assume that you've listened to the Mark Fairbrother interview that was released earlier this week.
Yeah.
Were you impressed by Mark's transparency, and in particular, what aspects of the information impressed you?
I was very impressed, actually. I know Mark, and I liked his honesty and openness. I don't think we've had that for quite a while from the club, so that was nice to see. And I do know him, and he has the best interest of the club and the fans at heart. And I believe he's the perfect CEO for us. I was impressed by Mark and the board's long-term vision, and looking at the Prem by 2030 or sooner, hopefully. And again, he mentioned the new training ground, and that's on hold for 6 months, but that frees up funds for other things, presumably. People may know or may not know the club's losing £10 million a year, as Mark said, and what the chairman and his family do for this club is off the scale. I mean, last year alone they put in £20 million, which is just amazing. Mark Fairbrother mentioned improving the club in all areas and to improve revenue all round. I think that includes new sponsors, new match day experiences, etc. So I think the future financially and hopefully on the pitch is looking good for us. And as I said, I believe Mark's the right person to take it forward with the chairman and with the board.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dean. I think what came across to me in that interview was the empathy he's got for Millwall and the supporters. Without being disrespectful, I think that is an improvement on what we've seen the last 2 or 3 years. It's been very financially driven, whereas Mark seems to have a real grasp of what Millwall's all about, and I like him very much. I thought it was a great interview.
Yeah, well, he's always walking around the lounge, he's walking around the car park, and he's very approachable. And he'll listen to anyone, and I think it's really important for a CEO, especially in a football club.
Hi, Dean, it's Phil here.
Hi, Phil. Hello, mate.
It's 9 games undefeated in a row with 25 points. We've got games in hand on everybody except Portsmouth, Plymouth and Blackburn. Is there something to worry about in as much as that we've just had 3 draws in a row, that we now face a defensive reshuffle due to the suspension of the best player we've had for a long time, Tanganga. Plus, we've lost Jules Coleman for just going for 12 weeks, and the likes of Saville, Romanassi, Ryan Lemon and George Honeyman are on 4 cautions as we work on commentary to the den. What's your thought on that bit of grief for?
Well, the game in hand, it's nice to have, but I'd rather have the 3 points, obviously. Yeah. And just going back to Tanganga, you mentioned in there, I mean, he ran the show up at Oxford last week. Man of the match, outstanding. And, how we got him from Tottenham, I don't know, but thank God we did. Our defence has taken a bit of a hit due to injury and suspension, like you said, and we've lost Coleman for 12 weeks, which is a big blow. I mean, I think he's outstanding for us, Coleman. And then you've got, with the defence, you've got Ryan Leonard, you've got George Saville, Romain, George Honeyman, all looking at a suspension if they get another booking on Saturday. So hopefully that won't happen, but the way they play, there's every chance they will. It's we just need that finish up front, and I'm sure we'll be fine on Saturday.
Dean, we've debated this long and hard, and I'm sure fans are. What would your back 4 be for Saturday, given that Tanganga's missing? Would you rejig it? Straight in and out? Yeah, we've all done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a straight it's a hard one. Who do you bring in? I mean, who have we got to bring in, really? But obviously, Murray's got to play. Then Danny Mack, he's in there as well.
I threw Wes Harding in there, but I don't know about Harding. He's just not playing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about his fitness. If he's fit, I'd play him. I'd play him. But it's all about his fitness. I think it's going to be a high tempo game against Coventry. So whether he's up for it, I don't know.
Dean, we've got a prediction league called Ted's Prediction League.
Okay.
Could you predict the scores for the following 3 games in the Championship this
go on then.
weekend? So first up is Burnley versus Middlesbrough. Ted thinks it'll be 1-1. What do you reckon?
Oh, Burnley Borough. I'm going to go 2-1 to Burnley.
Okay. What about West Brom versus Sheffield United? Ted thinks 2-1 Sheffield United.
No, I'm going to go for a draw on that, 1-1.
Okay, fair enough. And last but not least, Millwall versus Coventry on Saturday down the Den. Ted thinks 2-1 Millwall. What do you reckon?
I've been thinking about that one all week, actually. I'm going to go 3-1 Millwall.
Okay, I think I've had that one earlier on as well.
Yeah.
Dean, thanks very much, and I hope you score well with those, especially the last one.
Yeah, hopefully, yes. The only one that matters, really.
Dean, thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for sharing your thoughts about Millwall. We really appreciate you coming on to the show. I look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dean.
Thanks.
Bye, Dean.
Bye.
Take a break there and listen to Bethany Manxlow explain how you can support the Millwall Community Trust.
The Millwall Community Trust is something that I, Bethany Manxlow, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985 to provide sporting, educational, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. Donating to the Millwall Community Trust is easy. Visit their website and click on the Get Involved section. There are also sponsorship opportunities. To support this work, email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That's commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. If you can, please help them to continue their vital work.
Thanks very much, Bethany. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the Nolan Knights Talking team of Phil Coleman, Jeff Burnige and Steve Warren. If you can donate, you will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all of their programmes across all age groups to people within our community. We're all looking forward to the next game, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and all of those interested in football.
As John Docherty's passing was announced, Millwall Football Club released a statement that everyone at the club would like to offer their condolences to John's family and friends at this very sad time. The club will hold a minute's applause in memory of Doc ahead of kick-off against Coventry on Saturday at the match day at the Den. Rest in peace, Doc.
Bethany will present next week's show, and Dave, Stan and Gary will join her on the panel. Don't forget to tune in. Additionally, our monthly show will return live on Maritime Radio on Saturday evenings starting in January. Watch out on social media and this show for further details.
For the second week running, the Millwall Lionesses will travel to Bognor Regis on Sunday to face Bognor Regis Town women at the MKM Arena, Nirewood Lane, for a League Cup tie, postponed from last Sunday. The kick-off will be 2 p.m, so if you fancy a day out on the Sussex coast and the forecast is meant to be dry and sunny intervals, why not take in the game at the MKM Arena and give the Lionesses the support they deserve?
Don't forget you'll be able to listen to the Noah Lights Talking team bring reports from our games both home and away for the Lions, Lionesses, Romans and Pride, and also updates on Millwall Community Matters too on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Across South London and North West Kent you can hear them, but you can also find us on Instagram, Facebook and X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, SoundCloud and all other popular podcast sites. I actually think that list gets longer every episode. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Myles.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Myles.
And thanks, Phil.
Yeah, thanks very much, Myles. Cheers, Steve and Jeff.
And thank you all for listening. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.